Hello, this is the Game Philosopher. Thank you for coming to this channel. So, the thing I'm wanting to explain is traditionalism, because a lot of you guys who know me know that I have a bias towards traditional ideologies, and yet, as a traditionalist, I'm not really a big fan of limiting yourself to one tradition. So, I will look at multiple traditions. It's not just one or the other. I like Plato, I like Aristotle, which some would argue are the same tradition, so that's kind of redundant. I like Zeno, I like Confucius, I like all those guys. But what I've noticed is that's very rare within traditionalism. So a lot of times you'll have people, for whatever reason, whether it's because they find more of a cultural inclination to like certain philosophers more than others, or they might say, I'm obsessed with Stoicism, so I'm not going to listen to what the Peripatetics say or what the people who are academics say. I'm not going to listen to what the Platonists say, on and on and on. Or by ignorance, they would take Aristotle and Plato, but fail to look at the medieval Arabic philosophers or the late ancient Berber philosophers, such as Saint Augustine or or Lactantius, or they might take medieval stuff like Thomas Aquinas and fail to look at any of the Avicenna or anything like that. Or they might take all of Western canon and fail to look at the Eastern canon. And for me, this is a big problem, because I think as a traditionalist, to be a relevant traditionalist, you would want to expand yourself. You would see that there's some very good stuff they can read from Mencius, from Confucius, and not just from Aristotle, not just from Marcus Aurelius, or even from the timeline. Why read just Marcus Aurelius when you could read Theodore Mitohites, which I've done recent videos on? So what we see a lot of times is people have these biases, whether it's for the reason that they like this other culture better than this culture. It does not matter. They limit themselves in their philosophical education. And so what happens is the ideology becomes what I call a museum ideology. It's preserving the past, which is what a lot of traditionalists want, is to preserve the past. But what happens ultimately is it becomes a dead ideology, a dead tradition. You're set in the past. You don't advance through the tradition. You're not being on the shoulders of giants. You're being on the shoulders of giant statues which are not moving. That's what happens when you just want to cling to one tradition and not expand the traditionalist mindset, the pre-modernist mindset. In fact, there's a meta debate you could have between postmodernism, modernism, pre-modernism. And in fact, most traditionalists hate both the modernists and pre-modernists almost as if they're the same evil animal. But you can't really get to debating these two unless you establish a greater firmness where it's not just one tradition, but united multiple traditions working together, where you have studied multiple philosophers from different traditions, from different areas, from different schools, and so on, and so on, and so on. It's because of this old ideology, or this old phrase, that if you have a quiver with arrows, you can easily snap one arrow in half. You take multiple arrows, it becomes a little bit harder to break in half. In the same way, if you take one ideology, there might be some weakness to it, and you're not challenging yourself enough. Take multiple ideologies, and you keep struggling with it, you get stronger. And eventually, you have the type of firepower you need to defeat the postmodernist and the modernist. Now, I will not talk about modernism nor postmodernism right now, because I myself think that would create a big unnecessary drifting in this video. But say you like Aristotle. I like Aristotle myself. I believe he actually teaches us how to do philosophy very well. But you're not studying any of the ethics of other schools of thought. The problem you get there is that you're not really using Aristotle's dialectical skill, his organon, to study widely, to sharpen yourself so that you could actually be able to apply the ethical theories very well. And with Aristotle, you take one book, you can't understand the whole entire corpus, because Aristotle in multiple books will reference another book of his. So in order to study Aristotle, you have to read multiple books. So in my view, if you want to have the strongest modern, like pre-modernist ideology, if you want to have the strongest and most living tradition, you need to study multiple traditions. And as you get the multiple traditions, you challenge yourself, you make yourself much stronger, make yourself more wise and able to respond. You also respect other people more as you do this, and you begin to enlighten yourself by going straight to the source. And what happens is you become a much more dynamic individual, and what happens is there's a united effort from the great thinkers of the past who are helping you to be strong against the threats of modernism and postmodernism. Now, regarding those who are traditionalists, because it's their desire to like one tradition more than another, that is perfectly fine. But as a lifestyle, you're not going to do much more than be friends with one small little group, as opposed to expanding yourself. There's no reason not to study multiple traditions, because as a pre-modernist, you want to study as much as you can of the multiple traditions. You want to become more dynamic. Now, if one ideology seems to appeal to you the most, that's when you start forming an identity, a philosophical identity, and that's fine. But that does not mean that Confucius doesn't have anything to add to you. It doesn't mean you should not read Plotinus. It does not mean you should not read Al-Farabi or any of those guys. This is, in my opinion, a very important subject, and I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Share this video if you liked it.